episode 5 of the PP Oh wow, that's a bad intro. Holy shit. Of the PP podcast with myself and Sir
we
James.
can we can redo, or we're gonna leave that in.
Now we're gonna leave it in. It gives us personality, James. We're gonna endear ourselves to the viewers or the listeners. So
Yeah,
I'm not lazy.
we're so authentic. Um, have you ever watched Lindsay Ellis?
Yeah, yeah. I love her like 2 hour long thingies. They're really good.
Yeah, about Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
But why I bring her up is she does a good video on she calls it manufacturing authenticity.
Yeah, I think I've seen that
Just
one.
yeah, thinking about you saying there, just to show we're human or whatever. Yeah, the videos, it's all about channels that are trying to create this idea that, oh, we're so authentic. She uses like cake making YouTubers as an example because
Oh
that's what she
Christ.
likes to watch. But
Yeah.
but yeah, about YouTubers who yeah, they deliberately do things like talking to the camera, somebody behind the camera, or like leaving
Yeah.
in like things like that to make it feel more authentic and build more of an audience. And yeah, that's not what we're doing. We just fucked up and couldn't be asked to
We don't care. We just don't
redo.
care.
It also, when I first clicked that video, actually, it was I thought it was going to be more along the lines of, I guess, more like manufacturing credibility.
Oh, okay.
And she
Yeah.
was going to talk about how do you come across as someone that people should trust? Why should
Uh,
your opinion matter? Um, so that's almost a video I want to make, actually. I kind of want to do the
yeah.
manufacturing credibility video. But
How do I seem
um,
credible?
yeah, well, just like if you think about all the different like people doing what we're doing basically, but like
Yeah,
people who
yeah,
do video essays, people who do educational content, like obviously there's a lot of effort that goes into coming
yeah.
across as someone you can trust. Like, why do you trust one person over another?
Because at the end
um,
of the day, they could all quite literally just be hacks. Like
mm,
you have some of them obviously know their shit, and you can tell they know their shit. But can you actually tell if they know their shit? Whoa. Think about that
yeah.
one.
Ooh. Mind blown.
Damn.
Tom Scott, if you've ever watched him, actually does an interesting video called "Why You Can't Trust Me."
Oh, really?
Because obviously he produces a lot of educational videos. Well, yeah, kind of educational for your interest.
Yeah.
Here's something you might not have known. Um, and yeah, he did a video on like why you basically, shouldn't accept things uh, with blind faith and stuff.
I mean, yeah. To be fair, it's pretty important in our fucked up day and age with fake news and all
Yeah,
that shit.
maybe that can be our foray into the video essay scene. We'll do
Oh
do a
yeah.
video on credibility.
Do it on
Um,
credibility. We'll get really like metaphysical with it.
yeah. Anyway, that's far too close to actually thinking. We like to talk about films we've seen.
We do. We do.
Um, actually I'll start because I've got a film I want to talk about.
Go for it.
Um, so I watched Us for the first time this week, which is 2019 horror, and it's directed by Jordan Peele. So you know who Jordan Peele is,
Yes,
I
I've
guess. But
watched the video where he's pretending to be Obama and it turned into a meme and he shakes everyone's hand that obviously you like within that universe or franchise. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, Keen. I really like Key and Peele.
they're great.
The comedy sketch. I've spent so many hours watching clips of them on YouTube. But it's so funny because like you've got these guys doing these comedy sketches that are so goofy, so ridiculous, like, and then he goes on to direct Get Out and Us.
Which I literally when I watched Get Out, it was like 9 p.m. on a Friday at uni, and I was watching it by myself, and I had the lights off. I don't think a movie has scared me or made me feel so ill when I was watching it. And when my roommate came back, and because he's a big fucking lad, he like always slammed the front door. I literally I jumped like 2 feet from sitting out on the couch. I went, oh, like lifted my body somehow. So Jordan Peele he's pretty good. He knows his shit clearly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Get Out is just, yeah, Get Out was excellent and really, really made you feel tense. I think I think I might have actually preferred Us. I don't know
Interesting.
if that's I don't know if that's generally
Um, I think
how you felt, or if you disagree.
um, I think I've seen Us more times, and I've given them both 4 stars, so I see them pretty equally. Um, I think the story of Us is more interesting, and I love the doppelgangers. Like they're so good, and the tone's really good. But I think Get Out just, even though it goes a little goofy with like the putting the white people's souls into the black people's brains and that kind of weird shit.
Yeah.
That movie still scared me more and made me feel just like
Mm.
sick. Like I felt actually sick watching it. And obviously like crazy white guilt and all that stuff. Whereas Us, I don't know, maybe I like them the same, but I think Get Out scares me more, but Us is cooler in general.
Yeah, I mean, Us made me laugh.
That's
You know,
true. Us is good.
it had me really, really tense at parts. Um, you know, but also it had a lot of humor, a lot of places where I really laughed.
There's some good humor in
So
there.
I think that's why I liked it. It did both things for me. I really liked, yeah, all the four main characters in Us,
Yeah,
like that we follow. I just They were all really good. Um, yeah, I really like the scene where that first really made me just burst out laughing is when they're sat on the sofa for the first time and
oh,
he's trying to give them the boat.
yeah, that's true too. But the
The
boat,
door's just like, nobody wants the
the
boat,
boat
Dad.
bit is really good. I just love that bit.
Just like everything about it, like been built up to, and just
The
I
dad's
was
great.
because it's when we'd first met the doppelgangers, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And like it was this really tense scene, and then they just said that. It just really caught me. I also love the bit in the um, where the like Alexa or whatever it is just playing this like music over the murders, and it's
yeah.
just like
I mean,
that's really good as well.
when the white rich family is getting murdered, and obviously she's like, Alexa, call the police, and then Alexa's like, playing, fuck the police, and we've got an
Yeah.
Alexa back at home now. So one time my mum was just um, like cooking or just chilling in the kitchen, and then I walked in and I was like, Alexa, play "Fuck the Police," and obviously it goes "Fuck the Police" straight away, and she was like, No, stop, stop. So that moment's good, and I love
Yeah.
after they sort of finished the house and they're getting in the car, and they all get in, and everyone's just like roll them up, and everyone's like rolling up the windows like straight away. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, the comedic bits are really good in that movie as well.
Yeah. And I mean, getting into to major spoilers now. I liked, well, actually, in that house scene, I liked that the like all the white doppelgangers just murked them all
Yeah,
instantly.
straight away.
I was like, because we'd had all this tension and all this sit down, and I just something about a scene where they just all got killed.
Yeah,
You know, it had a lot of humor, and it also had this kind of element of, oh yeah, there's nothing stopping them just just killing them all.
Yeah,
You know, like I thought that was good. But as you say, like the general plot, um, I really liked how they fed all the way through these kind of like hints that
yeah,
she might be the doppelganger.
which is really good. The bit at the house when she goes back to the keys and
Yeah, yeah,
she's like obviously like really like animalistic and she's like panting and growling, and then I can't remember the boy's name, but he's like seeing his mum and he's like, what the fuck? So the hints are good. The hints are good.
yeah. Because right from the start, you don't know who came back,
Yeah,
right? Like when you don't know what the film is about, you're kind of sat there at the start wondering who did she come back?
yeah, yeah,
What happened? But then it flashes forward and she's acting normally, so you kind of put that out of your mind.
exactly, yeah,
And then it starts to like creep in and you're really not sure.
yeah,
Like you don't actually know. Um, up until the end, obviously. So I just really liked that. That just made me feel like tense all the way through. You didn't know who you should be rooting for, and
but yeah.
um,
That's why I love that. I love when like a piece of media is like, we could have just done like a basic. These are the people, and the doppelgangers are evil. So this is one. But it's great. It's like no, they switched. She's a doppelganger. They're both fighting. That final scene is amazing. Like I love that they took the music from "I've Got Five on It," which plays at the start. It's like a rap song about drugs and murder, and they slowly change it into that like piano and the big organs or whatever the fuck they're called, and the big grand music. Like that's like a proper scene worthy of what was happening
yeah,
in that moment.
yeah, it was just so well done. I really liked as well how it wasn't like a huge got you
No, no, it
twist,
wasn't either.
because I think that would have felt really cheap,
Definitely.
you know. But he'd done enough that it's like it was obvious that the film was trying to make you question whether she was the
Yeah.
doppelganger. It wasn't obvious whether or not she was, and it resolved it at the end,
Hmm.
but again without tying everything up too neatly.
Yeah, yeah. You're still left with like
You
a
know,
bit of
like
uncertainty, not as to if she is or not,
yeah,
but what the fuck's going to happen next? Because
yeah, what's gonna happen? Like what is yeah. So really, I'd really enjoyed Get Out, and I am a fan of Peele.
yeah,
Like I liked all his comedy, and then Get Out was so good, so I really wanted us to be good as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
And it was like, which I think is so. I've had so many instances where you go in and you want something to be good,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like it's either all right or you kind of you like it, but
It's not quite
there was
same
problems,
level or whatever.
or it or it was just bad and you're just sad.
Yeah,
Um, whereas this was just a great film,
yeah,
and like I enjoyed it even more, I think, than Get Out.
yeah,
And so, yeah, I was just like so pleased, I guess.
yeah, yeah. No, that's good.
um,
Um, because I think, yeah, I mean, it was one of like I've not been to the cinema too much in the past few years, but it was one of those that I was like, fuck yeah, I'll go watch that, and it was really good. And then Bill wanted to see it, and I was like, I'll go again. Like, I'd happily spend another £7 to watch it in the cinema and go through it again. And it's good. It's a good movie. It's very fucked up. Um, and there's a lot of like symbolism and like. But I loved the rabbits. Um, Everyone was like, "What do the rabbits mean?" and all this stuff. And Jordan Peele was just like, "They're creepy as fuck," and he was like, "Fuck rabbits," and that's it. There's no other thing. He just finds rabbits to be
yeah,
really weird creatures, so that's why he made them like a part of the movie. There's nothing else to it, but obviously we're Americans and the holding hands and all the other stuff. There's a lot going on there.
yeah. You can definitely you can definitely start to read into that film if you want, but it also works at a very like not surface level because the plot is like inherently interesting and makes you
Yeah,
think, but it works just watching it
yeah,
through, without trying to compare it to society or because I read a little bit about it after, and some people had
yeah.
gone in on um, which I sometimes like to do, but I don't tend to do masses
No,
of um,
I think
in
I think
yeah
you're right that you could enjoy her story and her doppelganger's story and just follow that through and kind of just appreciate but not get too into the wider bits, or you can go ham. And it's nice that you have both of those there for the people that
yeah
like a tense horror movie with a bit of comedy and they want to focus on that. But then for people that are always looking for extra stuff, it's a movie that probably anyone could watch because there's a lot to it.
yeah yeah. I mean, I guess for me, I really liked following this cool, interesting
Yeah,
family,
same here.
and um, I cared about their story. And there was a few moments in the film that I thought were really poignant, like talking about. There was a few moments where they used like them and us,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the words them and us, and they were, it was really like, yeah, poignant moments, and I think it made a good point. Um, but mostly I was interested in these four characters we'd been introduced to, right?
Yeah,
I liked all of them, and I thought they had a really really good dynamic between them, like a lot of chemistry
tons
as
of
a group.
chemistry. Well, very talented,
So
definitely.
so that's what I got a lot out of it, but um, yeah, I can see how there is like a broader commentary. It's not just like I watched an interesting Q&A with Jordan Peele actually about Get
Oh
Out,
yeah.
where people were asking him questions about some of the symbolism in that and just some of the attention to detail in it that I hadn't even like vaguely picked up on.
Oh
But
shit.
it was like if I could find it, I'd recommend it because it's worth a watch. Um, where I was like, it was already a good film, and then I gave him a lot more credit after watching that because there was so much he'd like fed in. Um, so I can I absolutely believe that anything like that in us is completely intentional.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's the kind of director that would include that. As opposed to sometimes I get a bit frustrated where I'm like, come on, this theory you're coming up with is just completely out of your
There's a
arse.
lot of
It's not.
tinfoil hats
It's obviously not what the film was
being
about.
worn out there. Yeah. Cool. So Get Out and Us, good movies. Freaky. Good times, sort of. Ish.
Yeah, good
Very
shit.
good shit. Very good shit.
Go watch them if you haven't.
Definitely.
Um, what else? What else have I watched? Oh yeah, so I watched I watched a remake that I'm not that interested in talking about, but I'll talk about the original.
Okay.
so so I watched 12 Angry Men.
I've heard of
Um,
it.
so it's a film that came out in I think it 1950. So it came out in the 50s
Okay.
anyway. Um, no, actually, I think it was 57 because then this remake came out in 97. So that kind of
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's what it was. So the remake is just okay.
Yeah.
Like they kind of do it. It's pretty scene for scene. It's pretty much the same
Wow.
film, but I don't like I don't like the cinematography as much. Like the original film has a lot of like continuous takes and cool movements, whereas I don't know, I just didn't like the way the film was put together as much in the remake. Um, and there's also this. I also thought some of it was a bit. overacted
Okay.
or a bit.
How so?
Well, there's this. I don't know. I just didn't. It's hard to place, but I didn't believe a lot of the characters,
Okay.
and it might be because I've seen the original story, so I know that they're reenacting a performance.
Oh, right. I see what you mean. I
But
see what you mean.
I feel like they played the characters like the characters had been played, rather than bringing their own
Right. Right. Right.
personality
Right.
in a lot of ways. Um, so yeah, it ended up being. I don't think it was a bad film, but it kind of is just an okay film because if any, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone because anyone who hasn't seen the original, I would recommend you watch that.
Yeah. 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 I get you.
And anyone who has seen the original, I'd say, well, I don't think you're really going to get anything else out of the remake.
Yeah.
I'd probably just rewatch the original because it is just the same story shot in the same way. And they don't really make any interesting commentary. So the original
Hmm.
film, if you don't know anything about it, is the 12 Angry Men are 12 jurors
Okay.
on a case. I don't want to spoil it because I think you should watch it.
I'll I'll put it on my list.
It's well up there. But to tell you a bit about it, yeah, there is a somebody on trial for
Okay.
murder. The film focuses on the 12 jurors in the room discussing the case. So they've come away after the trial and they're having to come up with their
Okay.
verdict, and that's what the film's about. So the film opens with they call for a vote. It's like, okay, let's see where everybody is. Lots of them have been chatting about it in like the first like 5-10
Yeah.
minutes up to this, and they've been saying how, yeah, cut and dry case, yeah, pretty
Mhm.
pretty simple, right? um and the vote is 11
Oh
to
wow.
1 in favor of guilty. So that's how the film opens, and then from there they start to discuss the case and
Right.
what
Right.
they
Right.
think. So I think it's a really excellent film with some really great performances about, and it's um so
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one I would be keen to discuss
Yeah. Yeah.
if
I
you get
want that.
round to seeing it. Um, I don't want to say too much about it because I'll ruin
Okay.
what's
Cool.
good about
It
it.
sounds
If I tell
because
you
there's
why I
definitely
like it.
like been scenes in a TV show or a movie where it's the jurors and one of them swings one way or whatever. Um, and what TV show is it? Fuck, I'm trying to remember it now. Oh, it's fucking Peep Show where Jeremy gets called up for jury duty and it's a woman on trial for like credit card scams or whatever. And he accidentally like bumps into her in like a pub and gets to know her. And then he comes back and he's like been texting her and stuff. And Mark's like, "You're a part of the jury. You can't be texting this woman." And he's like, "Jeremy obviously doesn't give a fuck." And then when it comes to the verdict,
Yeah.
she's obviously guilty and all of that. But Jeremy, because he's been shagging her, is just like, "No, maybe she's not guilty. I think we should rethink this." And she eventually gets not guilty overall. I'm pretty sure. And then obviously it turns out she's a monster and she's been like stealing stuff from like the house and all this sort of thing. But I feel like spending like a movie on that discussion is like a really interesting idea. So it's on my list. I'll definitely give that a watch so we can talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't want to overhype it because I think that's one of the worst things when
Yeah,
you go in feeling like a film should be the best thing you've ever seen. But it's my favorite film of that
shit.
decade that I've seen, and yeah, I'd be surprised if you didn't
Cool.
like it. Um,
I'll give it a watch. I'll give it a watch.
but yeah, don't make sure it's the
Yes, don't worry.
1951, not the
I'm not.
not the
I'm not a fan of
1987 one.
remakes that change nothing or change stuff, but then they're shit. Like fucking Mark Wahlberg in Planet of the Apes or the Thing remake or prequel that came out, stuff like that does absolutely nothing for me. So I will always watch the OG version.
I don't have a problem with remakes. Like, it's not inherently bad to remake something, but if you're not gonna add something new to the story, yeah, it was literally just
Yeah,
the same. Um, you need to add something new to a remake, I think, and maybe that something new is, hey, this film was a black and white from the 30s, or it was a
yeah,
silent
yeah,
film, or it's now a bit dated. Then I can see why you know what you're bringing
yeah,
in. Um, but I think for a film from 1950, I mean, it has an all it's 12 Angry Men, right? It's an all male cast, but
yeah, yeah,
so's the
yeah.
remake. Um, but like it has some points, like, without spoilers, the guy is from the slums, the
Yeah.
guy who's on trial. So there's a couple of lines where people are like, "Oh well, he's one of them,"
Right,
you'd
right.
like it just, but it discusses that. It's not done as, yes, obviously this is the view. Like, there's people who challenge that. Like, one of the guys on the jury is like, "Well, I've been lived in the
Yeah,
slums all
yeah, yeah.
my life. Am I a criminal?" So I think to say it's from the 50s, like, it's not dated. It like discusses. I think it just, it raises some really like valid points about stuff like that. Um,
No, that sounds definitely
yeah,
like an interesting movie. So I will watch that for next
yeah,
week. Because,
yeah,
and again, which I keep bringing up, 97 minutes. I'm like, cool. I can bash that out pretty quick. So that sounds good.
yeah, yeah. I was trying to think what remakes um, I actually like, not necessarily prefer, but I think really add something. Um, and at the moment, I can't really think
I'm
of
gonna
anything.
type some in just to see what pops up.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard positive things about the Jungle Book remake they did,
I completely forgot they did that.
and
Yeah.
that they did actually take a different direction. Um,
I'm trying to think if I've actually watched it.
I
I think I
actually
might have.
really I haven't seen it, so I can't comment really. I know I raised it,
One
but
sec. Let me.
one remake that we did discuss that we don't like is the Alice in
Oh yeah,
Wonderland
that
one.
movie's fucking dog
But
shit.
I, but as a like premise, I actually really liked that
Yeah,
idea.
yeah,
Like, remaking, Alice in Wonderland is like an acid
yeah,
trip of a story, and the original one is very, very sort of light, very fun, and I love it for that. But yeah, I really liked the idea of remaking that. Yeah, remaking that as like a
yeah, yeah,
darker tale, because there is so much in that could be basically a spooky
yeah,
horror
definitely.
story. Um, they didn't execute that very well, but like I feel like that it was a remake that had some like
Yeah,
justification for
no, that one's
existing.
fair. Um, and I have watched the Jungle Book remake. Um, it's not as good, but it's like considering it's a remake with CGI animals, it's pretty much fine. It's way better than the Lion King one. That's all I fucking know. Um, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair play. The Mummy is an amazing remake. That's for fucking sure.
Oh, that's a
Because
good point actually. They really did take a different
I
direction.
watched the Mummy for the first time during lockdown, and that is a delight. Like I don't know how I've never seen it before, but I was like blown away by just how fucking silly and just fun it was. It was great.
I could do with rewatching that actually. I feel like that's a
Yeah,
good fun one for when you just want to have an
it's really
enjoyable
good.
evening. Have you ever seen the original that it is remaking?
The third version with Tom Cruise that is one of the worst movies ever, but I've not seen the original. So you've got a good remake and a bad one to choose from.
Yeah, so the
Go on.
the original is from
32, yeah.
1932, so it stars Boris Karloff as the mummy. Um, it is okay.
Nice.
I
Yeah.
will say it's it's a fine story. If I was watching it in 1930, well, 1932. If I was watching it in 1930, I have done really well. Um, if I was watching it, as it was released, I might have quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But I think now, yeah, it's just okay. Looking back, it's a bit. Some of it doesn't quite work that well. The story's fine, but the scenes themselves lose a bit
Mm.
of tension when, yeah, I don't know, it's not as believable. And there's quite a lot of like, I don't know if it was like the code in films at the time, but it's a bit toothless.
Right.
To say he's supposed to be this scary mummy, like he does give a guy a heart attack, but he's doing the whole, old films. Oh, I'm clutching my chest because it's in so
Yeah,
much
yeah.
pain, and I'm now going to fall
It's
over
like
and be
very
dead.
over dramatic.
You know, yeah. So you watch it and you can't. For me, anyway, it doesn't really
I
get
guess maybe if you
intense.
like, if you're a fan of that time and how acting was back then, you'd probably like be able to come back to it or enjoy it, right?
It's one of the better. It's so I went through a whole bunch of watching
Right.
old horror. Um, so like Dracula was out in I think
Yeah, around the same
32 as
time.
well. So I've watched Dracula. I've watched um, that movie.
Frankenstein.
I've watched Frankenstein. I watched Jekyll and Hyde. I watched some of the like Hammer horror, like Christopher Lee's
Yeah, fuck yeah,
Dracula.
dude.
Um, I watched like Creature from the Black Lagoon, which
Yeah,
is like
I
a
like that one.
50s one, and that's a bit of fun. So I think it's really fun to go back and watch these
Definitely.
older horror films. Some of them are just all right, but these were like huge
Yeah,
franchises
yeah,
at the
yeah.
time.
The big ones.
Like if you look at Dracula and Frankenstein, it's like, Dracula, Dracula's daughter, House of Dracula, Dracula Returns, Dracula's son. And it's exactly the same for Frankenstein. It's like Frankenstein's kid,
He's a
you
nephew
know,
from Blackpool.
and and then there's like Abbott and Costello meet each of them, and all these different like, in the same way that a lot of the films now become, Fast and Furious
Yeah,
is a huge
Jesus.
franchise, and we talked last episode about Alien and
Predator come together.
Terminator and Predator, how they spin off into these franchises in like the 30s, and at that time it was these horror ones. So if you're like interested in film,
Yeah,
and I am interested in older film a little bit as well, I think they're a
yeah,
good set to have watched to like round
definitely.
out, get an idea of how what was big at the time. Um,
Seeing how it all worked back then, which is a very long time ago now. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like other remakes. Obviously, there's loads of zombie ones that just completely lose. Like there's the Dawn of the Dead one, where um, the dad from Modern Family is one of the main characters, and it's just like they're in the shopping mall. It's the zombies. One of them gets infected, and obviously he's got to try and betray the rest of the group.
yeah,
Like stuff you've seen so many times, but it doesn't. By being in 2006, it doesn't make it interesting. Whereas when it came out in like the 70s or the 80s, and it's John Romero, and it's like the first zombie movie and stuff, and it said campy, that's like where it's best enjoyed.
yeah.
So yeah, remakes are cool sometimes. I think they're. I just see them as cash grabs a lot of the time,
I'm
and I'm just like,
largely,
I've
yeah,
seen the movie.
largely they're not good, but
Like I don't need it. Like we've talked about animation to live action and all those kind of remakes, but even just like live action to live action or animation to animation, I'm like, but it's already there.
yeah,
Like
especially in this day and age of Netflix, Amazon Prime,
Yeah,
you can just stream a film. You can just, you know,
exactly.
never mind having to go out and buy a copy or have to trawl through to
Yeah,
pirate something. You have a Netflix account, you load up Amazon Prime or whatever service, you can access all these films. Like a remake, I guess that's partly why the 12 Angry Men doesn't upset me. Or, if it's coming out in the 1990s, you can go and watch a story in cinema that you might not otherwise
yeah,
have seen, or it might tell you about a film you wouldn't know about. Whereas
yeah. That's true.
remakes that are
Okay,
coming
yeah.
out now, like the Disney ones,
Like,
everybody can just go and watch the old Disney films. Like I don't need to
yeah,
see a live action version. Um,
no. Like, we have so much access to so many movies that you don't need to remake one just for the kids to experience at this time because their parents, if they were born in the 90s or above all, even the late 80s, they know what they're fucking doing when it comes to computers and finding movies or TV
yeah,
shows and stuff. Like,
I wouldn't
yeah,
mind if they were done with, I don't know. I do feel that when you watch a film, you get a feeling from it, and you do get how the actors and how the people making it felt and what they put into it. And I think if a remake feels like it's been done lovingly, and they really wanted to do something interesting, or they thought it was a great story that deserved retelling, then
yeah,
it doesn't,
yeah.
however good or bad it is, it at least doesn't feel soulless. But when something has been done because this is the trend now,
Because money.
it made money,
Yeah,
so we're going to remake every other animated classic. It doesn't feel like there's any love or effort in that. It's just,
there's no
yeah,
soul to it. I feel like movies it doesn't work well, but with video games, now that like 1995 was 25 years ago, and you're getting these big remakes out, and even ones that didn't come out too long ago. Like there's a couple of Japanese RPGs that I really really love for the PS2, and they remade them for the PSP or the PS Vita, or now they're on PC, and they didn't just copy and paste it and port it to the console. And one of them, they made it more like a visual novel, apart from like the fighting, and you have new characters and music and story bits. Like I feel like they're like valid remakes of the source material.
yeah. They're bringing in something new. Right. Well, I think that's enough rambling,
Good.
chatting on for today. Um, our our audience clocked off half an hour ago, so we might as
Yeah.
well stop talking. Um,
Cool.
cool. Well, I will catch you for the next one.
Yes.
Bye bye.
See you in a bit.